So bones are bones, and bones do break. My ladder slipped out from underneath me while I was hanging Christmas lights, and I broke my wrist. 'Tis the season, and while this might stop me from making teardown videos, I have had this video in the works for quite a while, and a broken wrist is not going to stop me from reviewing these two TVs. I've been looking for a new TV for my office, and LG said they would send over two to have me compare side by side, and I get to pick which one I want. At first glance, two giant black rectangles hung up on the wall might look the exact same, but the technology that makes up these two TVs is entirely different. We'll bust out the microscope to take an up-close and personal look at the pixels. Full disclosure, both of these TVs are really good. It was very hard to choose between the two, but I have made a decision. I'll have a lot of side-by-side comparison shots so you can make up your mind as well, and you'll have to let me know what you think down in the comments. Let's get started. So I've had these two TVs mounted up on my wall for about a week now. And I've played a few video games, I've watched a few movies, and it's been a very tough choice to decide between the two. But I think I've finally made a decision. The TV on the left is an OLED display, the TV on the right is a Samsung QLED display. Samsung has gotten kind of tricky with their naming schemes. Even though they both have LED in the name, the QLED is actually using LCD screen technology. The LCD screen is backlit by LEDs, hence the LED part in the QLED name. If you remember, when I toured the OLED Experience trailer, we saw both TVs torn down, and we could see the segments that make up the QLED TV with the big LED lights behind it, illuminating the pixels in front. It's called a transmissive TV because the light passes through the pixels, while the OLED TV, the one on the left right now, is using emissive technology, meaning that the pixels make their own light, and you get this futuristic looking super thin panel. Both of these TVs are 65 inches. So this OLED panel here on the left weighs about 75 pounds, but is incredibly thin. The emissive LEDs, which make their own light, can be made into these super thin panels. Yeah, there are some spots back here for the HDMI ports that's a little bit thicker and what adds the weight to it. The QLED panel over here weighs about 61 pounds, but does not include any of the HDMI ports. Those come in a separate unit, which I currently have down there on the ground. The QLED panel is quite a bit thicker than the OLED panel, and it costs about $26 a year to run instead of $31. It's a little bit cheaper to run the few LEDs that are backlighting the QLED TV than it is to run the millions of self-lit LEDs on the surface of the OLED. But those millions of self-lit pixels on the OLED panel are what gives you more control over the image, and I'll show you what I mean. The most extreme example of this control is with a star field, like that old school screensaver. Take a look at these side-by-side comparisons. Both TVs are playing the exact same video from the same source, and the TVs are on standard color settings straight out of the box. Since the OLED TV on the left can light each pixel individually, with that emissive technology, the detail on its true black background is way more prominent than on the QLED LCD screen. Both of these TVs are set on standard straight out of the box. Since the QLED on the right uses the backlight to shine through the pixels, and each backlight LED handles quite a big quadrant of pixels, individual pixels struggle to get lit up very bright because it's all being handled by one gigantic LED behind them. If you watch a lot of well-lit scenarios like the news or sports, this isn't a big deal, but for entertainment, which is what I use my TV for, like movies, TV shows, and video games, the ability to have detail in low light without lighting up the whole screen is kinda cool. If you watch scary movies or movies set up in space, sci-fi stuff, where there's a lot of dark or black scenes, OLED might be the better option. Even though the same video is being mirrored across both screens, it looks like it's an entirely different video because of the way the TV technology displays the image. So I paused the image really quick. I have a digital microscope right here that we're going to put up to the screen of the TV and take a look at one of the little stars. This is a neon green pixel that we're looking at right now. You can see it here on my laptop display. That little dot is what we're seeing on the screen right now, and each of those color groupings makes up each individual pixel on the OLED screen. Now let's take a look at the same green dot over here on the QLED. This is the exact same star, And that's what the QLED pixels look like. Instead of each color being lit individually, they're being lit by the massive backlight. And because each LED backlight handles such a large portion of the screen on the QLED, it's hard to find the detail in the individual pixels in something like a star field. The star field does a really good job of showing off the capabilities of OLED. Even though the same video is being mirrored across both screens, it looks like an entirely different video due to that display technology. The stars show up better on one screen than they do the other. Even with the lights on, the difference is very discernible. I'll put up some more side-by-side comparisons, so pay attention to the colors and the viewing angles as I move around a bit. As far as gaming goes, the OLED is NVIDIA G-Sync compatible with a 1 millisecond response time, and it also has AI Picture, which optimizes the image details and lighting in real time, as well as optimizes the sound. It can tell what size room you're in by the way the sound waves bounce off the walls, and adjust itself accordingly. For normal work like editing my videos and browsing the internet, I'll continue to use my LCD computer monitors. They have a more natural feel for me, but for anything that's entertainment related, like watching movies, playing video games, or browsing social media on my phone, I am going to have to go with OLED. The detail is all there all the time in light or dark scenarios. It really all does just boil down to personal preference though. If you want something super futuristically thin and colorful, OLED is probably the way to go. I'm not here to bash either technology though. Both of these TVs are pretty great. Remember that both of these TVs are 4K, so all of the pixels are there, just the technology lighting the pixels is different on each unit. You might have heard of something called burn-in, where there's an image kind of permanently burned into the display of an OLED TV or an OLED phone. My personal Galaxy S8 was plagued with this. For me, it was the keyboard that was burned into the display because that's what I used the most, and my keyboard was on the screen most of the time. LG has included a few precautions against burn-in with a pixel refreshing feature, along with a screen shift that moves the screen slightly at regular intervals to prevent the screen from sticking, and the TV can detect and adjust the brightness of logos or TV station watermarks. With the brightness of those logos adjusted down, it ensures that nothing bad happens to the TV. Now we just need those burn-in protection features on cell phones. The average person keeps their TV anywhere between 4 and 10 years, so it's a pretty big purchase decision. Hopefully my video was able to cast a little bit of light on the different technologies behind OLED and QLED. There's a reason why smartphone manufacturers are going with OLED displays. Yeah, they're thinner, but they're also better for entertainment, like social media, watching videos on YouTube, and I think that's the way I'm going to lean for myself as well, since for me a TV is entertainment. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Would you go with OLED or QLED? I'm curious to hear what you think. I'll leave a link for the TV down in the video description. Come hang out with me on Instagram and Twitter, and thanks a ton for watching. I'll see you around.